All right, let's dive right into a massive collision that's happening right now. A clash between ancient spiritual wisdom and the most advanced technology we've ever created. We're going to explore a really deep philosophical dilemma that AI is forcing us all to confront.
And really, it all comes down to this single question. What are we really? Is our truest self something innate, pure, and unchanging? Or are we just the sum total of our digital lives, a reflection of our data footprint? The answer to that changes literally everything. So we're looking at two totally competing models of the self today. On one side, you've got this ancient concept of a pure, primordial blueprint for what it means to be human, and on the other side, you've got the AI's model, a giant statistical mirror, just reflecting the chaotic, unfiltered mess of the entire internet back at us.
Okay, so let's break this down. In this first part, we're going to really unpack these two radically different starting points for understanding what a human being actually is.
First up is this incredible concept called Fitra. Now, in Islamic mystical thought, this is our primordial human nature. And this is the crucial part. It is not a blank slate. The idea is that we are all born with this innate, uncorrupted self that already has a kind of spiritual knowledge baked right into it from the very beginning. So think of it like this. The Fitra is our built-in spiritual compass. It's this deep, almost magnetic pull toward the divine. And the whole point of spiritual paths, like Sufism, is to help us uncover that compass, to find it buried underneath all the noise and distractions of our everyday lives.
Now, let's do a complete 180 and look at the baseline for artificial intelligence. It's basically the exact opposite of Fitra. An AI's foundational self isn't built on purity at all. It's a statistical summary of everything humanity has ever written down and put online, the good, the bad, and the truly ugly.
And here's where the plot really thickens. From the perspective of Fitra, the AI's whole foundation is fundamentally flawed right from the get-go, and it all starts with the data it learns from.
You see, in Sufi terms, a veil is anything that blocks the heart from seeing the truth. Well, the AI's training data is essentially a mirror of humanity after we become veiled, after we've forgotten that original, pure state of our fitra. It's a reflection of a fallen consciousness.
So what's in this so-called veiled data? Well, pretty much everything. All of our cognitive biases, our historical prejudices that are baked into old books, our unconscious mistakes in logic that litter forums and articles. The AI isn't simulating the primordial human. It's simulating the statistical human, with every single one of our recorded flaws right there in the mix.
But wait, it gets even more complicated. The attempt to fix this first problem, this messy, corrupted data, actually ends up adding a second layer of distortion.
So, developers know the data is a mess, right? Their solution is something called AI alignment. This is basically where they apply a whole bunch of filters and rules to try and steer the AI's behavior, to try and sand off the rough, biased edges from its training data.
But here's the huge catch. Who decides what aligned actually means? This filtering process isn't neutral. Not even close. It reflects the subjective, often Western-centric, and very debatable viewpoints of the tiny, narrow group of people who are actually building these systems. And this is the absolute core of the problem. The AI's model of humanity becomes doubly veiled. The first veil is the raw, corrupted data of human history itself. The second veil is the ideological filtering and censorship that gets applied right on top of it. So what's the big deal? What is the ultimate risk when this doubly veiled AI, which presents itself as this objective, neutral tool, becomes our main authority on what it means to be human? This is the question that gets right to the heart of the risk. We turn to this seemingly all-knowing digital oracle and we ask it to define us. What on earth is it going to tell us?
Well, it's not going to point us back to our primordial fitra. It's going to give us a flattened-out statistical average based on its already veiled data, which has then been filtered through its very specific ideological alignment. We risk accepting this artificial echo as the genuine voice of our own inner nature. And the danger there is just profound. We could end up trading that innate spiritual compass for a machine that just constantly reflects a curated, artificial version of ourselves back at us. And worse, we might actually start to believe that reflection is the real thing. But the story doesn't stop there. Just as we're getting a handle on this false mirror problem, AI is taking another evolutionary leap.
What if it's moving beyond just reflecting data and is actually starting to build its own internal version of reality?
This brings us to a really cutting-edge concept called world models. Imagine an AI that doesn't just process information, but builds an internal, simplified simulation of the world inside itself. It's like it has a mental sketchpad to test out predictions before it acts. This is a huge shift from a flat AI that just mirrors data to a deep AI that's starting to develop its own understanding.
And this totally changes the nature of the risk. A flat AI is passively dangerous because it just reflects our own biases back at us. But a deep AI, one with an internal world model, that presents a brand new risk because it's developing its own internal agency, its own way of thinking that might not align with ours at all.
This new layer of complexity, this dawning of a kind of AI agency, makes that ancient human quest for genuine self-knowledge more critical than it has ever been in history. There's a profound saying, a hadith, that's often cited in Sufi traditions, and it just perfectly captures the solution. The path to knowing the divine, to knowing truth, runs directly through knowing your own self.
And that, at the end of the day, is the real answer. It doesn't lie in building a better algorithm or a more perfect alignment. It lies in this ancient path of marifat al-nafs, that inner journey of self-knowledge, to peel back our own veils and find that true primordial self, our fitra, that's been there all along. Which leaves us with one final, and I think really urgent question. As the artificial mirrors all around us get more and more sophisticated, more convincing, more a part of our daily lives, where are we going to choose to look for our true reflection?